we're kind of entering a post-literate society, and if like all day long your brain is just smashed again and again by TikTok with really upsetting carnage in Gaza, then like you're talking, and like, not to, I'm sorry if this is a graphic thing to say, but like when I'm trying to make arguments in favor, for Israel, I realize I'm talking through a wall of dead children.
Hey, what's up there, Forward Up Newsies? I'm Scarlet Ryder here. Glad to be back with you. And yeah, let's get into this lady, Sarah Hurwitz. So you've probably seen by now, she is the former Obama speechwriter she was the former speechwriter for President Barack Obama and for Michelle Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama. And, she's been around in the DC Belt. Well, you've probably seen some clips of her lately where she's talking about just the state of, her opinions on Israel and the way that the genocide has been viewed or is being viewed and consumed by people, particularly younger people and particularly younger Jewish people. And yeah, she's really kind of going all mask off. And so I thought, there's like a whole bunch of clips that have been percolating, that have been coming around. Some of them are, I think, older clips from old shows that she's been on, and some of them are from newer speaking appearances that she's been on. And so I was like, well, why not pull some of these things together in one space? Some of these, I guess, greatest hits of her going completely mask off, and just sort of watch these together and see what the hell is this lady talking about? Because if you ask me, she's really showing that, one, there's no such thing as liberal Zionism, because Zionism in and of itself is a supremacist ideology, and you can't be a supremacist and liberal or progressive. Like, it just, that dog don't hunt. Who exactly is Sarah Hurwitz? So we go to her website. Sarah Hurwitz is like I said, a speechwriter. She was a senior speechwriter for President Obama and then became the head speechwriter for First Lady Michelle Obama. Traveled around the globe with her, all of that jazz. She's also an author. She's written some books. So her two books here all along, Finding Meaning, Spirituality, and a Deeper Connection to Life in Judaism, after finally choosing to look there. And then her second book is As a Jew, Reclaiming Our Story from Those Who Would Blame, Shame, and Try to Erase Us. So she very clearly has a particular point of view, and that's totally fine in and of itself. But let's go to some of the clips that have gotten her into a bit of a brouhaha, if one could say so herself. So this is the first thing that went viral, I think, last week. She was speaking at the Jewish Federation of North America. Let's get into that clip.
I think that since October 7th, but really before then, there have been huge shifts in America on how people think about Jews and Israel. And I think that is especially true of young people. So we are now wrestling with a new, I think, generational divide here. And I think that's particularly true in that social media is now our source of media. And this, it used to be that the media you got in America was American media, and it was pretty mainstream. It generally didn't express extreme anti-Israel views. You had to go to a pretty weird bookstore to find global media and fringe media. But today, we have social media, which is a global medium.
Okay.
It is.
Okay, so like first off the bat there, she's talking about, you had to go to some like pretty fringe bookstore to get global media, da 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 da. And it's like, one, that's not a bad, like, are you saying that we should go back to having the gatekeepers? Like, that's essentially what she's saying, is that, there should be somebody here to tell you what you can and can't watch, what you can and can't consume, what you can and can't learn. And it don't work that way, boo-boo. That's not what it is. The days of there just being like 5 news channels and everybody watching, Walter Cronkite at 6 because you have no other freaking option, that's done. So, yeah, and to be quite honest, that was never, in my opinion, the ideal form of news to begin with. It may have started that way because of technological, in part due to technological innovations having not been created yet, right? So like there was no internet, there was no cable, things like that. But like it's not a bad thing that people have more options and more choice, because when you limit the choices that people have, you have gatekeepers like a Sarah Hurwitz or somebody of her mentality that's not going to show you the full story.
Its algorithms are shaped by billions of people worldwide who don't really love Jews. And so while in the 1990s,
it ain't about not loving the Jews. I don't what are we talking about? I'm so tired of this talking point. Oh, people that don't love Jews, they're messing up the algorithm. Oh, people, they don't love Jews, so that's why the news is bad. The news is bad because Israel is killing innocent people. Israel is committing an apartheid. Israel is committing a genocide. It's estimated that 680,000 or more Palestinians have been killed during this 2-year long genocide. So no, it ain't about, oh, people that don't love Jews are messing with the algorithm. Like, shut up. Ugh.
You know, a young person probably wasn't going to find Al Jazeera or someone like Nick Fuentes. Today, those media outlets find them. They find them on their phones.
First of all, Al Jazeera is a legitimate news source. They cover a lot of news, global news in particular, a lot of which are stories that we just don't see here in the United States, that we just don't get. If your regular news and media diet consists of like CNN, MSNBC, or is that MS Now? Anyway, I think they changed the name to MS Now. But, you know, CNN, Fox, or even just like your regular like NBC News, ABC News, NBC News, you're not going to be getting there's a lot of stuff that you're just not going to get. And I'm not even just talking about just in relation to the whole Israel and Palestine situation. I'm talking about just in general. There's things happening in Sudan, things happen, like the genocide in Sudan. There's, the genocide in Congo. We don't hear nothing. When was the last time you watched a mainstream news outlet here in America and they did anything about Congo or Sudan? When was the last time they talk about, things happening in Myanmar? Who's talking about, things that don't have to do with America or sometimes even like London. But outside of that, you know what I mean? So Al Jazeera covers a lot of great stuff. Al Jazeera has lost a lot of journalists during the genocide in Gaza. They were on the ground. They're still on the ground trying to get all the news that they can. So to besmirch Al Jazeera just because it's not white and Western, I think it's owned by Qatar. It's just ridiculous. Like Qatar or Qatar, however you pronounce it, the country in the Middle East. But yeah, anyway, let's get back into this nonsense.
It's also this increasingly post-literate media, less and less text, more and more videos. So you have TikTok just smashing our young people's brains all day long with video of carnage in Gaza. And this is why so many of us can't have a sane conversation with younger Jews, because anything that we try to say to them, they are hearing it through this wall of carnage. So I want to give data and information and facts and arguments, and they are just seeing in their minds carnage, and I sound obscene. And
you sound obscene because you are obscene. This wall of carnage, stop building the wall of carnage. I don't understand why that's so hard for someone like her to understand. She's sitting there saying, "Oh, we want to give facts and figures." You want to give propaganda and lies, because even if you do just the straight facts and figures, if you do just text based, no video, you still losing the argument, boo. We're not falling for the same propaganda anymore. Let me know in the comments section. Did you, before October 7th, 2023, did you know a fuller history of the Israel-Palestine conflict? Because I sure didn't. I hate to say it, I sort of just believed whatever it was that I had been told. I didn't know that much about Israel, but I thought Israel was for lack of a better phrase, the good guy. Oh, those suicide bombers, terrorists coming into Israel. Oh, this is the home of the Jews. It just is what it is, right? It's but then when October 7th happened, and I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. Why would someone do this? And then you just hit the Google, then you just hit the YouTubes, then you just do just a tiny. It didn't even have to be a extended amount of research. It was just a tiniest bit of digging, into what happens and why, like, this broader situation. And like I said, I didn't say this yet in this video, but like I'm still learning new things every day. Things about how, like, in Palestine, it's illegal for them to collect their own rainwater because that's considered property of Israel. Imagine that. The rain, even the rain is property of Israel. But she gonna sit here and say some shit like, oh, I'm trying to get facts and figures, and instead I have to talk through this wall of carnage, and I sound obscene. You sound obscene, Sarah, because you are obscene. Okay, you are a supremacist and you are obscene. I hope this clears it up for you.
I think, unfortunately, the very smart, bet that we made on Holocaust education to serve as anti-Semitism education, in this new media environment, I think that is beginning to break down a little bit because, Holocaust education is absolutely essential. But I think it may be confusing some of our young people about anti-Semitism because they learn about big, strong Nazis hurting weak, emaciated Jews. And they think, oh, anti-Semitism is like anti-Black racism, right? Powerful white people against powerless Black people. So when on TikTok all day long they see powerful Israelis hurting weak, skinny Palestinians, it's not surprising that they think, oh, I know, the lesson of the Holocaust is you fight Israel. You fight the big, powerful people hurting the weak people.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So now we're saying that, oh, the Holocaust didn't teach the right lessons because now, like, oh my gosh, people are taking from the Holocaust of, like, protect the weaker person, don't give in to the oppression, don't let anybody else be abused. And that's a bad thing because now it's being applied to everybody. Like, get the heck out of here, girl. I child, don't even get me freaking started because what the hell. Anyway, now let's go to a clip. I found this from Dropsite News from their Twitter. This is an interview of her that she gave on a podcast. It's the Being Jewish podcast with Jonah Platt that she's on. And in this, she's talking about just more of what she feels the lessons of the Holocaust not being learned because we're applying it to everybody, and it's just ridiculous. But here's more of her stuff. So let's get into that.
October 7th happens, and I'm texting with them. I'm like, do you still want me to come? Like, what should I do? And we decided the tour would go on. And so it wasn't a response to October 7th. It was really planned beforehand, but it became a response to October 7th. And it was, I came straight from like 1997 to 2023, right, and the shock that I felt. On so many, we're very distracted by these big encampments and protests, which are terrible, of course. But I'm much more worried about the pervasive, systemic atmosphere on these campuses, like the air kids breathe.
Yeah.
In a lot of campuses, Israel is in the same moral bucket as the KKK and the Nazis, right? So if I said to you, Jonah, look, I'm a Nazi, sure, but I'm a liberal Nazi. That's insane, right? Or, oh, I'm in the KKK, but I don't hate minorities. Like, that's monstrous. Like, come on, we're not going to have a conversation about that. And that's what I think a lot of students on campus hear when a Jewish student says, well, look, I'm a Zionist, I'm a liberal Zionist. I care about Palestinian rights. It's like Israel is now so evil, so untouchable that there's no point of contact you can have with it, just like there's no point of contact you can have with the KKK or Nazis. And once you're in that level of irrationality, there's no conversation to be had. So many Jewish students told me they tried to meet with them.
But why is that irrational to you? Because Zionism is a supremacist ideology. It is an ideology that says that they deserve, that God promised them this land thousands of years ago. Forget the Palestinians, forget the Arabs that are here. This is just for us. And, we're God's chosen people. There is no chosen people of God. We're all, for anyone who's Christian, Muslim, or a Jewish or, whatever, we're all equal. There is no favorite. God doesn't have a favorite people. He doesn't have a chosen people. He, she, it, they doesn't have a chosen people. But I digress. Let's get back into her nonsense.
Their classmates who were harassing them and like have a conversation, and they would be told, no, that would be normalizing Zionists. I just thought like the extremity of this. And it's so confusing for these poor college kids because their anti-Semitism education has been Holocaust education.
Right.
So they get to campus, they're like, well, there are no Nazis here, but I feel really unsafe. And so I'm going to gaslight myself and say, well, maybe it's anti-Zionism, not anti-Semitism. And I have to walk them through like, okay.
Reminder that Zionism and Judaism are not the same thing. You can be Jewish and not be a Zionist who thinks that they have the right to come in and take somebody else's home, land, and resources. You can also be a Zionist and not be Jewish. Like, I think in America, at least, if I'm not mistaken, the majority of Zionists are actually like evangelical Christians. So, you know, and don't even get me started into the whole reasons why they believe, you know, in Zionism, because they think that Israel needs to exist so that Jesus can come down and fight the big fight against the devil or whatever. You know, it's the whole apocalypse thing. And then, you know, whatever Jews don't convert to Christianity, they're not going to get to go into heaven. It's a very odd thing. But yeah, so lots of Zionists aren't even Jewish people to begin with. But let's get back to this video.
If a classmate of yours, you know, I was like, can I walk through your campus with a t-shirt that says, I love Israel? And they're like, oh God, no. I'm like, okay, what if a black student came to you and said, you know, my campus is great for black students, but I can't wear my Black Lives Matter t-shirt, I'd get harassed. And the student's like, oh, that's racism, that's terrible. Great. You know, gay student says, my campus great for queer students, but if I wear my pride t-shirt, I will be harassed. Like, it's not great. That's homophobia.
Right.
So it's like, so...
First of all, I really hate when Zionists do this. Don't be dragging other groups into y'all's nonsense. Black people, LGBT people, whoever. We're not your shields. Don't use us for that. Don't do that. Mm-mm.
How come if you wear your Israel t-shirt and you get harassed, you don't think that's anti-Semitism? And they're like, no, but the problem, it's not Jews, it's Israel. I'm like, okay, what if your Chinese American classmate wore a t-shirt that says, I love China? Even if your classmates knew what a terrible human rights violator China is, I'm guessing they would think, well, okay, I'm sure she doesn't love the Chinese government. She's probably just passionate about her heritage, or maybe she's studying Chinese history or language. I think your classmates would give her the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
And that is not.
She kind of sort of has a piece of a point with the China thing. However, China is not actively committing a grotesque genocide that's being live streamed across the world. There is the genocide of the Uyghurs, which I do think is a legitimate problem. The Uyghur Muslims in China, the Chinese Muslims, a lot of them have been killed or forced into re-education camps and things like that, at least according to Western news. But to try to put that on this, like, every government has its issues, full stop. But as we see, some of them are a lot worse than others because, you know, Israel, again, they were dropping 2,000-pound bombs on people in tents. You know what I mean? Like, I'll never forget that video. There was a 19-year-old Palestinian man, teenager, who was in a medical tent, and they dropped a bomb on his medical tent after he had survived another bombing, and he burned to death while the IV was still in his arm. It looked like a scene out of a horror movie. Watching this poor 19-year-old boy get burned alive, standing up, holding his IV thing. The IV is still in his arm, just slowly burning alive. Imagine what that felt like. And we had to see that. So for her to try to make, well, China is a human rights violator. One, so is America. Two, so is Israel. And Israel's broadcasting it all across the world. Ugh.
Not something that happens for Jewish students. And it's Dara Horn, who's one of my best friends and an amazing Jewish author. She talks about the difference between poor anti-Semitism, which is like, you're a Jew, you're bad, I'm going to kill you. There is nothing you can do to be good. You can't convert, you're bad, I'm killing you. Whereas there's another kind of anti-Semitism, which is like, you're a Jew, you're bad, but there is something you can do to be okay. You can give up whatever it is that I, the majority, think is disgusting about Judaism. And so back in the day, you know, if you were a Jew converted to Christianity, they wouldn't kill you for some time at least.
Yes, I have.
For a while,
maybe.
If you got lucky, you know, you could convert. And today I think I think about my parents' generation, the 50s, if you were a Jew and, you know, just get rid of your last name, your nose,
right,
your Jewy gestures, right? Be less Jewy and then you're safe. Today it's, you know, get rid of your Zionism and then you're safe. And so you see these poor kids who are like, they're like, my rabbi growing up told me Israel was great. And then I got to campus and I learned they were genocidal, colonial Nazis. I saw the light. I had an epiphany. And then I took anti-Zionism and anti-colonialism into my heart, and now I'm saved. And their classmates are like, now you're saved. You're a Jew who's seen the light. And it's like,
girl, okay. Girl, anyway, I'm starting to get annoyed just sitting here listening to this. Let's go to the next clip because I just can't. I can't with this lady. Like, she is supposed to be some sort of like, she's supposed to be some sort of like liberal. She's one of the quote unquote one of the good guys, right? She's on our side, and this I think is also like further highlights. There's like this myth I think that a lot of liberals tend to have, white liberals, where they think that they can't be racist or any kind of the isms. Where ask anybody black, we'll tell you some of the most racist people you will meet, whether they mean it or not, will be white liberals. And this is an extension of that, and this is an example of that, because I'm sure she's probably good on other issues, but when it comes to protecting Israel, making space for Israel to do its horror, when it comes to not actually giving a damn about Palestinians, she's great at that. This is who Sarah Hurwitz is, and so I have to thank her. Thank you, Sarah, for speaking your mind and going full mask off on this and showing the world who and what you and Zionism really are, because you are the best advocate for why Zionism is not the move. I'm just going to go sort of breeze through these next couple clips because honestly, I'm tired of hearing this lady's voice. But here's a clip from her at the Z3 conference where she says that Jewish day schools should banish smartphones for their kids until senior year of high school. And if you haven't seen this clip yet, you are not going to believe the nonsense, her nonsense reasons as to why. So let's get... Hold on. So let's get into that here.
We're kind of entering a post-literate society, and if like all day long your brain is just smashed again and again by TikTok with really upsetting carnage in Gaza, then like you're talking and like I'm sorry if this is a graphic thing to say, but like when I'm trying to make arguments in favor, for Israel, I realize I'm talking through a wall of dead children. Like that's what people are seeing. So when I'm like, yeah, but it's 1.5 civilians they're just seeing carnage.
But
right?
that's the emotional blackmail.
I mean, fair enough, but like again, I mean that's nice, but like again, I'm hearing that through a wall of screaming children. It's like I think it's a harder argument than we're understanding. So I actually really strongly think that like Jewish day schools should absolutely say no child owns a smartphone until senior year. They don't own one at all. Period. We give it to them senior year and we teach them. Like this whole not during the day, great, nice start. No smartphone at all until senior year. Dumb phone, sure. But I think that we've got to like give our kids' brains a chance and their mental health a chance before they start getting really warped.
So what she's saying is, don't give them smartphones. We don't want them to see the carnage. We don't want them to see that Israeli soldiers are gang, heads up, trigger warning, what I'm about to say. But we don't want kids to see that IDF soldiers are gang raping Palestinians held in captivity. We don't want our Jewish students seeing that we're burning people alive with IVs stuck in the arm. We don't want Jewish students to see that we're shooting up the cars with 6-year-olds in them like we did to Hin Rajab. We don't want Jewish students to see Palestinian prisoners being ran over by tanks while their hands are still zip tied behind their back. We don't want our Jewish children to see all of this wall of dead children, as she says. It's very much given Van Jones's whole dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby. Diddy, dead Gaza baby. Like, it's giving that type of nonsense, and her answer isn't to stop the carnage. It's not to stop the slaughter. It's not to stop the rapes, the systemic rapes. It's not to do any of that stuff. It's to let's give our kids a chance for their mental health, so we can teach them, so that we can indoctrinate them with our propaganda, so that when they grow up and become leaders in this country, that they can be just as sick and depraved and immoral and disgusting as Sarah Hurwitz. That's what she wants. That's what she's advocating for. And I gotta again, thank you, Sarah, for saying the quiet part out loud. You save all the rest of us a lot of time in trying to figure out what the hell it is you mean with this bullshit. So it whatever. And then here, I think I have a last clip. This is her in some interview where she's talking about, it's really weird. She's actually, there's this common Jewish trope that Jews run Hollywood. And of course, that's an anti-Semitic trope. But at the same time, people have started to notice that there are instances where if you are pro-Palestine, right, or if you're against Israel's actions, where that's costing people in Hollywood certain jobs, right? So like Melissa Barrera was fired from Scream, the Scream 6 movie, after saying her, speaking out for Palestine, I think on Instagram or something. Susan Sarandon was dropped by her agency over her things she said over her pro-Palestinian positions, and so on and so forth. But still, it's still been widely known as an anti-Semitic trope to say that, oh, Jews run Hollywood, the Jews run Hollywood. But then you have someone like Sarah Hurwitz saying that Jews actually do run Hollywood, and that it's everyone else's fault because they made them. So I listen, hear it from her, because child, I don't.
Somebody like Jews control Hollywood, right? Because like you made us do that. I don't, it's like, I guess I would just gently push back on the idea that Jews have power in America. I think we have tremendous status. I think we have, we've certainly achieved like tremendous professional and cultural achievement. We certainly have achieved, wealth and like professional success. But I don't necessarily know, we're 2% of the population. So if the majority turned against us, I'm not totally sure what we would do, right? Like I'm just thinking about like power in very kind of practical ways. We definitely have power in Israel, like as a state, right? But I don't necessarily think Israel is like the most powerful state in the world or all powerful. I think it's often kind of deemed the source of all the world's problems, and kind of, whereas like this is a state the size of New Jersey. It's not. Right. I know we think it's very important. I certainly think it's important in the scheme of the world's thing. Like I would probably focus more on like China, Russia, Iran. I think the obsession with Israel is it's a reflection of very old historical ideas about Jews. But I think I certainly think you're right. Like what you're alluding to with like,
it's not an obsession about Israel or the Jews. Like calling a thing, calling out supremacy, calling out violence, calling out genocide and apartheid. That's not an obsession. Israel is messing up big time. And if we're being honest, it's been messed up and messing up since 1948, since its inception. But, hey, you could say the same thing about America. Actually, you probably should say the same thing about America.
There is this trend in history to say there is this disgusting thing, and Jews, you have to do this disgusting thing because you can't do anything else. We're not going to let you do anything else. You're going to do this disgusting thing. And then when you do it, we're going to call you disgusting. So, okay, you can't, centuries ago, Jews were not allowed to be in guilds. They were barred from many professions, but they were allowed to do money lending, which was considered disgusting. And so they did. And people said you were disgusting money lenders. And they developed skills in finance. And so they became quite accomplished in finance and banking. And we were kind of said like, oh, you guys are disproportionate in finance and banking, right? Because you made us, right? Decades ago in America, Jews were pushed out of the more kind of classy art forms of like theater and publishing, and told, you guys, there's vaudeville, which is kind of like, crass down market. Like that's the only thing Jews can do. So they were like, okay, I guess we'll do that. And it's like, oh, you're disgusting. But then they developed into Hollywood. And suddenly it's like Jews control Hollywood, right? Because like you made us do that. I don't, it's like there is something to it that's a little bit cruel. This idea that like, you've succeeded in this thing that we forced you into, and now we are going to condemn you for that. And that I just feel like
yikes.
For
But
sure.
look, we are not a powerless people, right? We have power in Israel. We have nuclear weapons and an army.
So at least she calls it. She acknowledges that Jewish people have power, particularly in Israel, right? Because they're a nuclear power, even though they try to hide the fact that they got nukes. Um, but yeah, it just first of all, that just watching that much Sarah Hurwitz, honestly, I need to rinse my. It's such a bad taste in my mouth just listening to her, and it's bananas. But yeah, you just hear like the faux victimhood and the perpetual victimhood. Oh well, you made us. They made us. Poor us. We had to take over lending, or we had to take over Hollywood. And I want to research to see how much of that may or may not be true in terms of like the being forced into certain career things, because there she might have a point there with some of that. But it's just so interesting because we've been told for at least my entire life, saying that the Jews run Hollywood, that is an anti-Semitic trope, and it's a stereotype, and it's not true. But then here you have someone like Sarah Hurwitz, basically saying, no, yeah, actually it is true. So then does that mean that everybody that was accused of anti-Semitism for saying that over these all these decades, do they deserve like an apology? Were they wrong to say it? It's so much. And then when you take that context and put it next to the context of people, facing, real career issues in Hollywood, right? Like there was I think Maha was her name, Maha something. She's a big time agent at one of the agencies, and she just posted something totally innocuous on her Instagram, in support of Palestine or whatever, and she almost lost her job. I think according to the entertainment trades, Tom Cruise was the one that had to come in and basically save her job. She got a demotion, but she didn't get fired, and it was all over an Instagram story promoting peace. So, it's really interesting to hear her say that. It really does sort of make you think. Yeah, anyway, Sarah Hurwitz, if you want to go get her books, go get her books. We talked about it earlier in the video. I'm actually kind of tired of talking about this lady. So let's just get to what you can do. So if you watch this channel, you know that we always, in addition to giving news, we like to talk about what you could do with the news that you've been given. And one thing that I want to talk about is the No Thanks app. So the No Thanks app is an app that sort of helps you if you want to do the BDS movement, right? So the boycott, divestments, and sanctions. So if you want to purchase, if you don't want to support Israel businesses, right? Businesses that are in or do business with Israel or are Israel based. Because one of the best ways to affect change in a capitalist world that we live in is to go for the economy. So the boycott part of BDS, boycott, divestment, sanctions, is not purchasing products from or made by Israel. And so the No Thanks app is an app that can help you with that. What you do is you download it from the from your phone app store. And you scan the barcode on the items and of any product. So you go to the grocery store, or wherever. Or you can even type in the brand name of a product, and you will get an instant answer that will tell you whether or not this item is on the boycott list. So like, let's say you're at the grocery store. I'm using grocery store as an example, but it's not just for groceries. Let's say you're at the grocery store and you're like, oh, is this, is this jam? Is this jam, made by or for Israel or in Israel? And so you scan the barcode using your No Thanks app, and it'll say yes or no. And, or you type in the name. So you type in the brand name of the jelly, and it will tell you if it doesn't come on scanner, you can do it that way too. And it will tell you yes or no, whether or not it's on the BDS list. So, because things are probably added or taken off of that list all the time. There's long-standing things in there, but they're, so you just never know. So anyway, the No Thanks app, it's available in the App Store on Apple. You can also get it in on your iPad. It's a mobile application that was, according to Wikipedia, that was made by a gentleman named Ahmed Bashbash. Apologies if I mispronounced that last name. He's a Palestinian software engineer from Gaza who currently lives in Hungary. The app was conceived in October 2023, following the death of Bashbash's brother. His brother was killed in an Israeli airstrike on October 31st in 2023. Again, this is all under the No Thanks app Wikipedia page. The app was launched on November 13th, 2023, and got over 100,000 downloads within its first month. So yeah, check that out. On November 30th in 2023, Google actually removed the app from their Play Store. They said it was due to a violation of their content policies. Take from that what you will. And the homepage of the app at that time had included a description that said, quote, "Welcome to No Thanks. Here you can see if the product in your hand supports killing children in Palestine or not," which was deemed Google said that went against their hate speech or whatever. Again, take from that what you will. But then the app was brought back to the Google Play Store on December 3rd, 2023. So now it's back in the Google Play Store for all you non-Apple phone users. You can download it. They just changed the description of the app, and Google reinstated them. So again, that's called the No Thanks app. Available now. You can get it on Apple or your Android phone. And if you want to scan things to see if they're on the boycott list for BDS. All right there, Newsies. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know it's been a while. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Let us know what you think of this whole situation. What do you think of Sarah Hurwitz and the nonsense that she was saying? If you've tried No Thanks, let us know how it's been using that No Thanks app. Let us know in the comments what you think. And don't forget to share, like, subscribe, follow us on all social medias. So, Twitter, TikTok, Blue Sky, Spill. So we're at Forward Up News on all those platforms. And again, share, like, subscribe. And until next time, Newsies, be good to yourself, be good to others. If you can't do that, shut the hell up. That simple. It's not hard. All right, y'all. Until next time, peace.
Have you been in space?
No, motherfucker, we got bills and